what's up? It's the end of the year, and it's our last episode on our conversation. So, Ta-Kaizer, and I'm with
Vijay, the brother from the ancient mother, the critic that you love to hate and hate to love.
So yeah, on this episode, and it's all about the roundup of what happened the whole year.
Yeah.
You know, talking points according to SA hip hop, the lows or the highs and the lows. And then hopefully next year we learn from what we did wrong. And and
we learn to also celebrate what we did right.
Yeah, so that
we can also begin to understand what is working for us in a particular time, in particular spaces, and what have you. I love it because I feel like the first thing we need to just get out of the way because I know how you'll be. What standard are we using when we talk about the highest moments and the lowest moments of the year? I know there's people probably watching, and just by saying that they've got a lot of high moments in their minds. Others have low moments in their minds. So please highlight us. You got any high moments, low moments that you feel weren't mentioned here, that you feel were mentioned, but you just want to add more? This is a direct conversation to the headspaces, because I think one of the high moments, which is not an official moment on the list, but is a moment that we really feel like speaks to the work that we do, is the fact that throughout this year we've begun to realize the impact of what we do on you. And when I say the impact, the negative and the positive. We're beginning to understand how we can navigate around opinions, how we can agree to disagree while at the very same time respecting and understanding each other's opinions. We've learned to open up the window to the fact that some people just aren't here to listen to us, but they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit.
Yeah.
They're just here, they're attached to their opinions, and they're not willing to engage in a place that opens them up to the possibility of being wrong.
And most importantly, they are not even willing to give up their own opinions.
You know?
Yes.
So
or they don't even have an opinion.
We're learning that. It's a high. Because for us, yes, Fundisa, that social media is a greasy game. And the way that we're going to be able to do the work we do of archiving, of celebrating, of critiquing the best and the worst moments in South African hip-hop is by staying true to the core fundamental principles that we've set as the headspace. And these core fundamental principles were created as an all-inclusive guideline to how we all tend to look at things. Because you might be a fan of underground, boom bap, alternative, lo-fi, hi-fi, whatever you want to term or call it. Hip-hop is beautiful because it's given birth to so many different tentacles that have spread out in ways that grow this culture and allow for its impact to be felt in ways that might be surprising and offending to others. So I'd like to first thank the Headspacers. Thank you for the love and the hate. Thank you for the commenting and the not commenting. Thank you for the subscription and the not subscribing. Because we not only learn from the things you do, we learn from the things you don't do. So first and foremost, shout out to the Headspaces for everything you are. Keep being that. And just whatever you feel from what we do, act on it. Don't act on it. It's your prerogative. We just appreciate having a platform and having one person listen to us, let alone 1,000. So we're growing, and we are a YouTube channel, and the realistic aspect of this is we do want to grow and develop, because what we do is not something that's subject to only our opinions. So please talk to us more and more about what you'd like to see, where you think we're failing, where you think we're really improving, where you think we're really impacting your life. We are nothing without you. So now, officially, to start off the Headspace year review of 2022 highs and lows in South African hip hop. Do you want us to start with the highs or the lows? I don't know. You want good news or bad news? Which one do you want first?
Start with the bad news.
Bad news. Let's start with the bad news.
Okay. So
the lows.
Starting with the lows, I feel like one of the things that fundamentally pushed back the culture in ways that forced us to question how far we've grown and to question the importance of the value we put in things is the passing of our SA rap icons.
Yeah.
First and foremost, I'd like to say Shout out to the spirits of Ricky Rick. The spirit of DJ Dimples.
City Lights.
The spirit of
Stalin
from Iznoli. Local rapper from RBGQ.
And everyone else, because we don't have the whole list, because I know there's a lot of underground rappers, you know, who
quote unquote underground.
Yeah, quote unquote, yeah, because
there is no underground.
Yeah, we've established that there's no underground. So yeah, you know, everyone who's passed on this year, you know, it has been a low point, because I think from last year, from 2021 and 2022, we've lost a lot of soldiers. Yeah, and it's really because people had potential to do more, and they also had plans to do more and be more. So it's actually it has to be on the low point.
It's and you look, it's weird, because as much as it is a low point, these points, the so-called low points, are not things that we regret. They are things that teach us about how to move forward in ways that are unlocking the part of us that brings pain. And pain is a lesson, you know. So death brings pain, and from the pain we learn how to grieve. And I think South Africa has learned how to grieve in ways that have been amazing. From the passing of Ricky Rick, we had a whole wave of young artists showing honor and credence to Ricky in ways through their songs, through the way that they express their art form, really just paying homage to the man and his work.
And most importantly, from his passing, we also had to talk more about, you know, depression.
Exactly.
We had to learn more about it.
We had to learn about that. So when we talk about the low points, these are not things we wished could have never happened. These are things that we know life has aspects that are always going to be outside of our control. And for those things, they teach us the lessons of how to persevere, adapt, and become resilient. Death is just one of those inevitable things. We're born to pass away, guys. And that means two things. It means every moment is important, but it means also that death in and of itself is a moment for us to reflect on the impact of what you or whoever you feel you are mourning for could be, because even in death there's possibilities. So shout out to all of these artists while they were here on this plane, for giving their best, for giving us elements that were innovative. And if you know a practitioner, a rapper, a DJ, a graph artist, a breaker in your corner of the world who passed on, and you really want to feel like an actual verbal dedication is necessary, please pass us the names, because it's always important. It's always important to expand our roll call, to say there are people who need to be called by their names, because their impact is demanding of that. So the first low moment is definitely acknowledging the spirits that have passed. And our next low moment is an interesting one. In South Africa, SA hip-hop has not always been in the forefront of the pop culture. And with the wave of trap and industry mania, we began to kind of move more and more forward to becoming the most popular artists. And we saw the trap wave bring us artists whose interpretation of the movement led them to the top. And we're talking about the millennial top three, obviously your AKA, your Questa, and your Casper. And your Ricky, who kind of lives in the periphery of that. And obviously other artists who are all a great big part of that. The OK Malone, Cool Cats, you name them. We've seen SA hip hop climb to pinnacles none knew it could really reach. Now, an unexpected phenomenon broke through in the scene, and its name is Amapiano. And what Amapiano did is that it brought us back to the essence of isingcise to as South Africans. The undeniable rhythms that swim in our DNA, that speak to us in ways that are way closer than trap or hip-hop, for that matter, could ever speak to us. And I say, hip-hop, just to add the fact that hip-hop normally comes in a form that's kind of packaged in a way that hasn't changed its styling. So the kind of hip-hop that tends to be resilient in the climate of anything is a hip-hop that has consciously re-engineered itself to talk to the South African directly, not indirectly, but talk to the South African directly, when now it doesn't feel like some kind of distant relative is talking to you, but it feels like your own mother is talking to you. And there's a difference. So hip hop that can come as your mother, hip hop that can come in a way that's closer to you, is the hip hop that is resilient. And because of that, SA rappers were panicking, up in arms, showing hate, bandwagoning, really feeling like SA hip hop might be dead. When really, what might be dead is not SA hip hop, but probably SA rap.
Yeah.
Because I think Amapiano did not effectively wipe out any movement deliberately. If a movement is wiped out, it's not because of what rises, it's because of the inadequacies in that movement. So SA hip hop needs to ask itself the question of, how did Amapiano surpass us to the level where our music is hardly played anywhere anymore? It's because we fed so much into the American machine that the moment something thoroughly South African came,
Spoke my time says Americanism.
Shout
out to Spoke my time.
Will be our demise. Because if we don't understand how to tap into our authenticity, there's always going to be something new that wipes SA rap out if we have not learned how to be who we are in ways that are interesting, new, and give us new possibilities of what SA rap could be. So it was very ridiculous throughout this year to see rappers, to see DJs calling out piano for taking over the scene, when really the honest representation is that this is a moment to look at ourselves. This tension, this envious attitude towards piano came in the guise of some of the large, iconic practitioners of SA hip-hop literally theming some moments in their events as SA hip-hop versus piano moments. And it's really weird to see people doing what they do, feeling like they need to compete with another expression of South Africanism. It just goes to show that Tina apa kwa hip-hop is South Africa. We still need to learn that because hip-hop see from the diaspora, we need to find ways to digest it and express it and regurgitate it out in ways that speak to us, because when we do that, there won't be a need to create unnecessary themes. There won't be a need to create unnecessary tensions in our ceremonies and our events. Because shout out to Piano for also showing us the possibilities of how rap in South Africa can grow. Focalistic is a rapper, guys. You know?
No, Young Stana is a rapper.
Young Stana is a rapper, guys.
And shout out to Ukwesta and Uladoga.
Ukabza,
the album put up.
AKA Pabza Manglane. Shout out to them. Shout out to Sizwe Alkaline, the artist formerly or mainly known as Rizin. They are teaching us that rap as an aspect of hip-hop can grow into other areas. And I think our attitude towards
Alkaline. Alkaline, yeah. You didn't know that?
Shout out to Fritz.
Shout out to Fritz.
For not knowing about Rizin. Alkaline. Shout out Rizin. You earned a new fan. So the ultimate point is that to hate on piano is to hate on ourselves as South Africans, and that's a real low moment. Next one. Next is a very interesting one. It was a major talking point.
BET Cypher.
Let's talk about it.
BET Cypher, was it a low? Okay, people hated the BET Cypher this year, mainly because they said the rappers who were featured there didn't bring their A game.
Who were the rappers again?
Stino Litwini,
shout out to Stino Litwini.
Flash Kumkani.
Shout out to Flash Kumkani. Is he representing?
Jesus, I didn't even write them all, but it was the new school kids.
It was a new school, and people were abuzz and in arms because they felt like these guys were whack. They didn't do us justice. But I feel like this is a low moment for different reasons. This is a low moment because what I learned from the freestyle is that these are artists who are part of the trap generation.
Yeah.
And if you haven't watched our episodes, it's time to realize that Headspace's stance on trap is that it's a relative of hip-hop. It might even be the son of hip-hop or the daughter of hip-hop. I feel more the daughter because, you know. But anyways, because it exposes us to a level of openness and sensitivity and growth. But anyways, it isn't hip-hop.
Yes.
And I know many of you would disagree. If you disagree with me, talk to me on the comment section. I say trap isn't hip hop, it's related to hip hop, but it isn't. Because it isn't, but it is related. The way rappers who use trap and rap in the context of trap approach their flows is very different to how a boom bapper or anybody else would approach it. And I felt like the beat they were given didn't express who they could be.
Yeah.
It was a beat which wasn't really reminiscent of what a lot of these artists do on a day-to-day basis. So obviously they're gonna struggle on a beat that isn't theirs. It's like giving Rakim a future beat. You know, it's like giving Kulichana a Zuchi Coke dope beat. He'd probably kill it, but he'd also struggle. And that's the thing. I feel like the struggle and the expression of how the BET Cypher became a low moment is that it's a moment for us to recognize the changing of the guard. And that if we're going to do ciphers, the cipher in the traditional hip-hop sense over a beat, which is pretty much boom bap or beatboxing, is going to be very different from the cipher of a trap era.
Yeah.
The trap era is more focused on melody. The trap era is more focused on the spaces in between, whereas the boom bap era, golden era, is focused on the actual words in and of themselves.
Yeah.
So, BET, Africa, any other platform, understand the fact that the transition from trap to hip hop is also a sonic transition. You cannot expect a young new generation who are raised on different principles to understand how to excel in principles that don't really reflect where they come from. The BET Cypher for me was a youth stuck in a configuration that was meant for the old guys. And that's why it didn't really work. It didn't work because Flash is a problem, or stimulating
or 25k.
Or 25k.
Yeah, is there.
Matter of fact, if you look at all the artists on the BET Cypher, they're there because they've been putting in a lot of fucking hard work.
Yeah.
They've been doing innovative things. They've been touching South Africans on a level where most rappers haven't even dreamed of. And as a result, to put those people in a canvas which doesn't allow them to paint or to express the shades and the tones that they only know how to, is a disservice to the artist, and it's a disservice to the country.
This is up to you. If you're a rapper, you need to rap in a beat though.
That's
what you want to say.
That's why trap isn't hip hop.
Oh, okay.
That might apply to hip hop, but it doesn't apply to trap.
That's another talking point.
It will be probably an episode.
In that.
But shout out to the trap artists.
Another low point.
It's a very crucial one because this one is confusing clout for influence.
Yeah.
Now this year has been filled with artists. I'm gonna name one of them, Upi Kosa, and basically people of his generation.
Yeah, the reason why we're calling his name is he's just the father of all these rappers that think the same as him.
Yeah, and
so we're not asiluyena.
Exactly.
Yes.
This is more a shot at the attitude. It says, look, social media is an interesting phenomenon that allows people to have attention around them for something that is sensational. And it also allows people to have attention around them for something that is impactful. Yeah. Now, it feels like younger artists are confusing sensation with impact. It feels like younger artists are confusing trending with truly trembling and shaking the ground of where the context of your culture is. Artists have been complaining that they're being kept away from major shows, major radio stations, and I think that's the wrong approach. If you believe in your art form and you know how to tap into your audience, and you as an artist have learned to tap into an authenticity that tells your story and is able to give the people who follow you shades of who you are, trust me. And even if Valela for any reason, the impact of how large you've grown is going to be undeniable. Case in point, an Aries who, when he left Ambitious, was fated to not be anything and not go anywhere.
Yeah.
But what did Aries do? He galvanized on his audience. he worked on his skill. He started releasing profusely. He started directly talking to his own fan base on social media. He started using the power of streaming and direct internet engagement to his advantage.
And funny enough, Aries doesn't even get played on radio.
Exactly.
But he's garnering a lot of land.
So it isn't about these traditional establishments. It's not about radio playing you. It's not about all these festivals that have gone on for years booking you.
Yeah.
What it is about believing in yourself and understanding how to bring yourself to your audience in ways that show emotional depth, technical diversity, novelty, which is originality, in ways that show that you can sustain the test of time, in ways that show that you are conscious of your local socio-economic conditions, and that your music...
And never remember, don't forget to be consistent.
Consistency.
Yeah.
It will be proven when you understand these things. So, the reason it's a low point, instead of crying for establishments to respect you, respect yourself by growing and developing your brand and not relying on anybody huge. Because the truth is, when you know how to crack your own code, everybody will be running to understand which secret did you reveal and how to change the game in ways that you innovated. Any great artist that you can name has done this. They didn't win by playing or pandering to.
And those soapy updates, you will never be in London and appreciated on your own town, but until you are not support you. It's
not obliged.
It's not obliged.
It's not necessary. Do you? And what we mean by doing you is do the research, understand the person who you are, and understand how that person can relate to an audience. Understand.
Be authentic, and people will gravitate
yes. Understand what you are trying to bring across and how it can truly relate to the experiences of people around you. Understand that you need a team of people who are going to help you translate the art into business sense, translate the art into strategic goals, and translate the art into cultural impact. Because when you don't do that, that's how you lose the game. Not because anybody was hating on you, but just because really, in reality, because of not being aware of strategy, because of not being aware of the culture you operate around, because of not being aware of yourself and your history, you have actually hated on yourself. Last low point. The
journalism, Baba.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
To be formal about it, the low level of SA hip hop journalism. And when we talk about journalism, we're talking about journalism in the context of how writers, publishers, bloggers, content creators,
even YouTube,
choose to tell the developing story of SA hip hop. There has been a very sickening developing insistence on inclining to talk more about pop savvy acts.
Yes.
And when talking about artists who are doing something in the quote-unquote alternative lane, there's a need to kind of use these same tired tropes of black boy from the ghetto does his best to succeed, black girl shows the men that this is not only a man's world. Why these things are tired is that they might be based on truths, but they funnel down people's experiences into stereotypes.
Yes.
If a rapper happens to be female, the worst thing you can do is market them as a female rapper. If a rapper happens to be overweight, the worst thing you can do is market them as an overweight rapper. People are people. And the best way to talk about anybody's story is by talking to these common qualities of how we can relate to them, whoever we are, whatever we do. So journalism has been very lackluster because what it does is that it tries to narrow down the human experience into stereotypes. Yeah. And what that does, it closes the door for other people to learn how to appreciate this person.
Yeah.
Because if you are biased towards Zulu people and this rapper is marketed primarily as a Zulu, then you're not going to learn how to develop an appreciation for them.
Yes.
You know, but if the rapper was marketed as a rapper and that his Zulu-ness is something that happens to be in the backdrop of how he or she or they express themselves. So journalism needs, and I say needs because there's an urgency in how it's manifesting in the way that acts are brought across. There are really talented acts who fail to break into people's attention because the narratives about them are stale and monotonous and stereotypical. Also, there are publications who we will not mention by name who have great legacies in the SA hip-hop space, who are now resorting to this pop culture centered limited writing which only gives us the surface level story about the person, when the real juice is about the motivations and where this person comes from on an emotional and, dare I say, spiritual level. So journalism, it's time for you all to pull your socks up to your waist, because now we're in a situation where the rise of Amapiano has brought about a negative attention on how SA hip-hop isn't doing enough to express itself in ways that are authentically South African. This is now the time to speak for ourselves, to speak of the moments that fail us and the moments that redeem us in ways that can teach the everyday South African how to appreciate an artist, even though they might not like or favor that artist's style or music. So as long as we keep having this monotonous journalism which simply taps into the easy things and doesn't strive to give us these broader, nuanced human stories, then we're always going to be complaining about a culture that doesn't grow, when the reason is that we've given the mouthpiece to people who don't speak for the culture but speak of the culture in ways that are foreign to others. So in order to truly get to the core and the heart of how to quote-unquote win over people, talk to the person. Talk to the person.
Yes.
Don't talk to a stereotype.
Yeah.
Don't talk to what you think is a slay queen. Don't talk to what you think is a cheese boy. Talk to the core of the person. Because when you talk to that, then they're going to be able to appreciate the artist regardless of whether or not they favor the artist or not. And if they do happen to favor the artist, it then allows the artist to grow and amplify, because now they've reached the person on deep heart level. Not only on the level of the memory of, oh, I heard this person's song on this and this and this platform, but now I understand this person. I know. And I think
also this level of journalism, that funnels through hip-hop heads, where when we talked, when we started the show, when we talked about the way that the heads address each other or debate, they also talk about, they talk in tropes, dope, trash, all those all those nuances as Pambene, whereby nobody is even talking about it. It's always surface level, and also it's why journalism.
And we're not asking for much, guys. All we're saying is, if you like something, know why you like it. And if you're going to write about somebody, know how to write about them in ways that express who they are and why they do what they do, not only how they do it, because the how is only enticing when we understand the essence of the person. So shout out to all publications that have been doing that, but there haven't been many. For the most part, we're still kind of being drained by this dry, tepid journalism in SA hip-hop. Last low moment. Let's go to the highs.
Okay, all that shit.
Because December.
Number one,
I want to talk about a moment that catapulted SA hip hop back into the limelight. A moment that a lot of people hated, but more people loved. The Big Zulu Saga.
The Big Zulu Saga.
It's a high note for me, Ta-Kaizer, because.
And funny enough, I was supposed to put my tambo. Yeah. By the way, I sent out a Twitter, a tweet. Yes.
Yeah.
A tweet. Because I'm cool to the tweet, and then Spook Matambo about this episode, and Spook Matambo answered and replied by what was his highs and what was his low, but we'll talk about that in Kasivalayo, man. And
No
then,
doubt.
yeah, the Big Zulu saga.
It's important to note the Big Zulu saga because it brought us back to the beautiful feeling of friendly competition. Big Zulu not only challenged his peers and his legends, but he challenged the country.
Yeah.
Because I feel like what he did is he challenged the country's perception of him. That just because he played into Zulu popularity, just because he played into the stereotypes of what we feel of Zulu people, that they are aggressive taxi driving buffoons or whatever, that's his claim to fame. Well, no, that's the stereotype. But Big Zulu's real claim to fame is that an artist who knows how to make music that speaks to the everyday person who just wants to have a better life. Maleningi didn't become a major track because of its insistence on capitalistic success, because of Big Zulu's kind of foray into Zulu culture. It became the track that it is because everybody wants beyond imali, wonke ufuna to succeed. And success is spoken in the lens of imali. So by battling everybody, Big Zulu brought back emphasis on the need for MCs to grow through sharpening their iron through other irons. Through saying, yo, I can take a Questa, I can take a KO, I can take an AKA. So I'll show them, I'll swing the first blow. And by swinging the first blow, he brought the attention on how the responses would be. And yes, the responses were amazing, they were spectacular. KO came out of his reflection space and recording of an album to cater just to that moment, showing us that he's one of our greatest lyricists. Questa did the same thing. And all of the artists who were called out responded or didn't respond in ways that were fitting to where they were in their careers. But what this moment did is, it's important that because
it brought more attention to hip hop.
Yeah.
More attention
as
to
a whole.
People started
more attention to battling. More attention, not so much to beef, but the art of competitive rap. And the art of competitive rap in the context of the indigenous tongue. Big Zulu is somebody who raps primarily, if not completely, ngesiZulu. So it was very powerful to see a Zulu MC combatively engage in competitive play with artists of any style. So whether your responses were brought in Afrikaans or English or isiXhosa or Sepedi, it didn't matter because Big Zulu was in a way celebrating these artists by challenging them. Celebrating SA hip hop by challenging it. Celebrating where we've come by calling us out on how far we've come. So I feel like Big Zulu needs a shout out and a props for this moment, because this moment shows how we can grow as a whole. We grow by questioning ourselves. We grow by challenging ourselves. We grow by challenging each other. And when we challenge each other, the criticism, when taken from a place of love, grows and allows us to work together. Fundamentally, if SA hip hop is to grow, we're going to have to understand that we don't have to like each other to work together. That we don't have to use critique as a way to bring each other down, but it can be an open opportunity to speak honestly and candidly on where we feel the other is lacking, and it encourages open-mindedness. So shout out to Big Zulu for teaching us that introspection is the only way that we can grow. Because the headspace is hip-hop, not rap, but it's rap and graph breaking, the entrepreneurial spirit, the history that all ties in together. How hip-hop as an American phenomenon expressed by blackness, expressed by oppression, travels through South Africa. It would be remiss if we didn't talk about the achievements of breaking in South Africa. Because breaking, we're talking about quote-unquote break dancers, formerly known as b-boys and girls, but you know, we don't gender things. The dancer is the dancer, irrespective of their sex or gender. They dance their asses off. One dancer in particular, shout out to B-Boy Million, and I'll leave it to like a big...
Yeah, bachelor.
Listen.
That's what she calls herself.
Check it out, because she's referencing the past.
The past, okay.
That's what it is. But you could easily just call her B-boy
median
too, because she's killing it. But shout out to Median. Talk to me, Ta-Kaizer, on why this is a high moment.
A high moment because back in I think it was June, July, there was people who are gonna go represent their countries in New York in the world champions of b-boying in the BC1 Red Bull. Shout out to Red Bull anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Study sponsorship too.
Yeah. So yeah. So in South Africa, B-boy, the Curse from Cape Town, won the South African championship.
Shout out to Curse.
Yes, and then up at Gqeberha, B-girl Median. Check out in the comments, in the description, we're gonna link you to our interview with her. So
much wisdom.
Yeah. So her and Ulanduka, the Curse, they went to November to New York to represent South Africa. Obviously, they didn't make it that far because
why is that obvious?
Is it? Yeah, it's not obvious.
It's not obvious.
Okay.
Surprisingly, they didn't make it.
Surprisingly, they didn't make it to the the final.
Because these are incredible. These are incredible breakdancers.
Yeah, incredible.
These are incredible breakers. Yeah.
But I think it's a high because you got two talented breakdancers representing South Africa in a world stage. Yeah, well, and then also Utofik Abrams. Shout out to Vokes James.
It's the Vokes no jokes.
Because Utofik comes from his foundation where he teaches young girls and boys how to
Guys, the link in the description will link you to Median's video and interview with us. You do not understand the strides that are happening, the schools that are being established, the talent that is emerging, the styles that we are innovating in the breaking context. I mean, you have countries like China, Japan, obviously America, but we don't talk enough about how the rhythm of Africans is beginning to influence the rest of the world in the contemporary breaking scene. We don't talk enough of the strides that cats from the Eastern Cape, Cape Town, Jersey, Durban are taking to unify as breakers in a culture which, ironically, hip-hop, but it marginalizes breaking because there's so much attention on rap. And the fact that people now think rap is hip-hop because they call rap hip-hop in the industry, which is just another trick to get you to forget the fact that rap is actually a part of a larger culture of people who are doing other things, who are moving their bodies in ways that are inspiring the rest of the world. These are people from this country. Mid is from this province. The rest of the breakers are still in this country. Shout out to every breaker right now. If you want to aspire to breaking, if it's something you're fiddling around, if it's something you've been practicing for a couple of years, if you own a school, if you are established in your own right, have been winning competitions, highlight us in the comment section, or just even on a personal level. Me and Ta-Kaizer are around. We out here trying to tell more stories of this particular aspect of the culture. There is no hip-hop if there is no breaking.
Yeah.
The DJ, the MC, the breaker, the graph artist all make up this element that creates this beautiful, thriving, dynamic empowerment force which is hip-hop. So shout out to the rise of SA breaking by us breaking into the world and winning championships, or almost winning championships. We are, I'm going to say this, put it into the universe.
Yes.
South Africa is going to have a global champion. I can smell it.
Sooner rather than later.
It's close.
Yeah, so also what I was saying about Utofik Abrams.
Sure.
He went to the Korea Championships and then he did his thing, so yeah, but Korea. So
guys, people are traveling here, representing us as a country. Africa and all that jazz. That's what it's about right now. It's about hip-hop practitioners breaking out and showing the world what we are producing as an authentic country in honor of this beautiful global culture we love and we call hip hop. What's the next one, Ta-Kaizer?
The last one, Median. Yes, our home girl. Median again. Ufakwe ku team. She qualified to be on the team to represent, the team SA, because I didn't know the Olympics had breakdancing as part of,
Shout out to the Olympics for
for
recently introducing that.
Right? Yeah, so she's there. She's on that team to go to the 2023 or 2024 Olympics, but she's going to the Olympics and she's trying to raise money for travel costs. Because so we'll link your details on the description below, because
we'll do more than that.
Yeah,
we will even put this poster up
there.
Because please guys, this is somebody who dances her ass off, innovates, understands the art form from a level that is deep enough to truly achieve heights if we as the people just give her a little push. And this is all it takes. A little push and you're gonna win. It's beautiful, guys. Don't you love it?
Yeah, and the ticket is only 50 rand. She only needs a 50 rand donation.
50 rand. 5 tigers. Santella, come on, you can do that. You can do that for hip hop.
Yes.
I know some of you heads personally have given more.
But we're not saying we are going to patala more.
But if you can,
if you can give more than 50 rands, it's a plus for her.
Yeah, but
but
just to crowd.
Shout out to b-boying and breakdancing in South Africa.
Shout out to Midian.
Yeah,
we love you.
The next high point.
The next high point has to be for me the revival, or not even a revival, the era of SA grown man rap. What do I mean? People are always saying rap is a young man's sport, when really pop culture is the young man's sport. But we could even go further. Pop culture has only been a young man's sport because until now we have been limited by mechanisms and industries which believe that the moment you reach 30 and beyond and you go into your 40s and your 50s, no young person will aspire to understand or to even want to know how your life and your views really relate to them. Yes. Hip-hop has been spearheading the movement at de-aging pop culture.
Yes.
Jay-Z is in his, 50s?
50s. 49, 50. There.
You know what I'm saying? Most of our great legendary MCs, even in this countries, are in their late 40s to early 50s, mid 40s, early 30s. Point is, they're no longer young.
Hip-hop is 49 years old.
It's as a culture.
As a culture.
So hip-hop is an old guy.
Yeah.
Girl.
So how can it be a young man's sport?
Therefore, it's been amazing to review albums from greats like P. Dodo and Black Les, Shorty Skills and Kniff, Boy Wonder, The Assembly.
The Assembly, yes.
Rappers who have been at it for decades, and seeing other rappers who in the past years, the Emphatic Tabs, who have really been giving new interpretations of their art in these times, showing us that hip-hop is aging well and that the OGs truly have something to say for the youth. They're learning from the youth and learning how to innovate in ways that bridge this generation gap into a moment of dialogue. So shout out to all the OGs, showing us that they can still spit, showing us that you can always teach an old dog new tricks.
Yes.
That it's up to the willingness of the old dog. So shout out to the old dogs and them showing that they still got teeth. They still can they still can give a good roar. Pit bulls. So in that case, we know that they're killing everything, they're just killing everybody indiscriminately. And that's what we want to see in hip-hop, in the context of hip-hop.
Yes.
In the context of hip-hop, we want to see artists annihilate everything because their skill is growing and developing. So it's been very beautiful to see people who were in the past classified as stale old heads now give a new light to maturing in hip-hop, growing in hip-hop, developing in hip-hop, aging in hip-hop. And shout out to Ricky Rick, City Lights, and all of the other OGs dying in hip-hop. That this is the culture we've given our lives to, and you betcha that we will give our death to. Because even in the last moment we will be hip-hop, to the core. So shout out to hip hop in South Africa going full circle, growing and evolving into something that has people who have moved past the prime of their youth and are still not giving up on themselves as artists and are showing the capitalistic construct that hip hop is something that you could do in the same way that an old ass Mick Jagger can be out there and still rock it like it was yesterday. Paul McCartney can still hold a guitar next to a Kanye West. Rock musicians have been allowed to age. Is it because they're white? Don't we like old black people making great music? Don't we like old black rappers? Don't we like old rappers?
What Rakim has been showing us, and
come on, shout out to Rakim.
Shout out to Rakim because on the World Champions in New York, our last point, he is the one who turned it down, who turned it up at the finals. After the finals, Rakim came in and was like, "Yo, we here."
So shout out to all the OGs globally for showing us that this has never been an age thing. Fuck out of here with that ageism that capitalism has taught you. It's truly about understanding how to evolve in your art form while remaining true to yourself. So we want to salute all the OGs. Next segment, I guess.
The revival of boom bap.
Come on.
Reinterpretation of it.
Going back to the reviews, can I just say something shortly?
Okay.
A lot of modern day hip hop swings towards trap because that's where we are. So the reason this is a high point is that many pundits, gatekeepers, and everybody else who feels they're important because they hold economic clout in the SA hip hop world have not been believing in the power of a boom bap song.
Yes.
They don't believe that a couple of years ago, Swada was able to rock us and that today we can still have a boom bap which speaks to South Africa. This year, we've seen a lot of that sound coming through artists like Pretty Ugly and other artists in the Stay Low camp, The Assembly, and just virtually the whole
Elijah.
Many different artists in SA hip hop showing us that boom bap has a revival that can reintroduce it to younger audiences in a fresh, impactful way. Who are these producers that have been spearheading this movement? Talk to us, Ta-Kaizer.
Manans. Herc Cut the Lights. Becoming Field. There's a guy called Becoming Field. I'm like, okay. I hear you. I don't know why you're becoming Field, but yeah.
Shout out.
But mostly I always gravitate towards Ulanduga, Manans, and Herc Cut the Lights because these guys, Umanan has been working with a lot of Pretorian guys from Pretoria. So that means you're talking about not necessarily, but he's working on the he's working with Nyams, the Next Door music label, because Next Door they deal with production. So yeah, talking to the albums you did, Ulanduka, Mind Contamination by Elijah the MC, Manans, Umninzi Payana, talking about Orientation by The Assembly. Manans is there all over, and his interpretation of boom bap has been stellar. We have Cut the Lights all over, anything that comes out of Stay Low. So Pretty Ugly, the mud is there.
Right.
So man,
shout out to that moment because many believe that boom bap was stuck in the cypher and stuck around circles where only men holding their crotches will enjoy it. Stuck in places where guys who like sipping Black Label and saying, yeah, what up, my nigga, can appreciate it. But what we've seen is that it's grown to be sparkly, shiny, feminine, masculine, queer, open, futuristic, historical. This revival of SA Trap, SA Boom Bap is showing us.
Not forgetting Shani J. Shani J.
Exactly. Yeah, well, I even made a mistake and said SA Trap. God, that's how much it's just everywhere. But SA Boom Bap is now being championed in ways that are truly allowing the craft to come alive and for people to say, I might need a boom bap beat or 2 or 3 or 4. Because that latest Pretty Ugly album, whew,
it was.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So, on the issue of a Pretty Ugly album, our last high, and I know we've spoken about this, but still we
last week is our last high, but it's Stay Low.
Right. You gotta. I see what you did there. Hip hop.
Yeah.
Stay Low was a movement I mean, we're not going to talk about it too much. We've already dedicated a whole entire episode. But it's so important that diversity in SA rap, diversity in SA hip hop is appreciated, monetized, promoted, marketed, and encouraged. And this is what Stay Low as a movement and label has been doing. It reinvented an artist such as Pretty Ugly to us as somebody who could really rap with the best of them. It gave us Zulu Mecca, whose narratives and whose flows keep us glued to the next narrative of where South Africa could go in terms of its rapping skill. It's giving us artists who were quote-unquote alternative but are now becoming increasingly more popular. So, shout out to Stay Low for representing and for really showing us that it is a myth that you have to play towards popularity to truly make it in this scene. I want to add another high and talk about the importance of Maklela Dope Boy's verse. And I want to also talk about how lyricism as a whole, because of this boom bap revival, is beginning to rise up. Cats are excited to now pull out their scripts and throw those bars out, because now people are listening. And people are listening because of how Stay Low and all these other movements are echoing out the call that you don't have to be trapped and narrow yourself in that for you to truly make an impact as a rapper. You don't have to play trap in the clubs non-stop for you to be able to bring the party down as a DJ. You don't have to find out how you can move your body to trap in order for you to truly make your events worthwhile as a breaker. You don't have to narrow down your images to the iconic moments of who's popular in order for you to make your visuals profoundly recognized as a graph artist. I love these moments because what these moments teach us is the best of where we've come from and where we could go. And I think that the boom bap revival, in conjunction with the rise of the label that is Stay Low, in conjunction with Big Zulu doing his whole thing in the commercial thing, in the rise of SA Breakers, basically breaking all of these international boundaries, is showing us that hip-hop as a unit, as a culture, breaking, DJ, graphing, and lastly, MC, when done in a way that is authentic to South Africa, is definitely something that the world can, will, and is already starting to appreciate. I'm Vijay, the brother from the ancient mother. It's an honor to talk about all of these beautiful practitioners, and I will do this for as long as I feel it is necessary, and as long as you give us the beautiful feedback, be it hate or love. Just the feedback alone is enough, because we know that we're not talking to walls.
Yes.
We're echoing out messages that we feel are important to dissect, analyze, and bring to the people, and it's an honor for the people to respond to us in any which way they feel is necessary. Thank you so much.
Just to reiterate, not actually reiterate, but I always wanna encourage people to, to engage us. So I'm not that big with Twitter, on that Twitter world, but yeah, on Twitter there is UK Concepts. So shout out to Uspook Matambo when I tweeted this episode.
The highs and the lows.
Yeah, the highs and the lows, and he gave us his highs and lows, because I wanted to shout out to him. Shout out to Spook Matambo. If you want to follow us on those Twitter streets, Viwe Joka,
yes sir,
UK Concepts.
Yes sir.
Yeah man, yeah.
It's been a beautiful 2022, Ta-Kaizer. To more, to heads challenging us challenging heads, and learning how to meet ourselves in the middle with compassion, with insight, and with an openness to growing together. We love SA hip hop. We do this because we're not just trying to be another pop culture show. What we are trying to do is make revolutionary decolonial work possible in the marketplace, and show people that capitalism has room for these messages of freedom, for these messages of critique, for messages of celebration in the context of history and culture. So I want to thank everybody who subscribed, everybody who keeps on pushing everybody else to subscribe. We do this because we love it, and the love has pushed us thus far. Happy New Year to all of you. We'll keep giving you more and more episodes, reviews, and other segments to come in the future. I know you haven't seen a pula in a minute, but this is just to appreciate you, the highs and the lows, as it's summed up by Ta-Kaizer and VJ from the Headspace. Tell somebody.
Tell somebody what?
Tell somebody it's happening.
It's all happening.
Right.
Peace.
Shut up.